I'm Jason Johnson in for Joy Reid, and we begin tonight with the Trump indictment watch. It's still a waiting game. Today was the day many thought the grand jury would reconvene and possibly vote to charge Donald Trump in the Stormy Daniels hush money scheme. But instead, two sources familiar with the matter told NBC News the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is planning to bring the grand jury back to continue their work tomorrow. Meanwhile, Trump is fixated on the optics. Sources told The Guardian that Trump wants to be handcuffed when he makes an appearance in court because making this a spectacle is exactly what a television president would want. The far more serious matter is the peril of facing a prosecution of this kind and what these challenges could mean for the organization that's tied its identity around a man who could serve time. The other cases involving Donald Trump are piling up as well and getting increasingly dire for him. There's the Justice Department criminal probe of January 6th, Fulton County's investigation over whether Trump and his allies illegally meddled in the election in Georgia, the lawsuit over Trump business practices in New York, as well as the Mar-a-Lago classified documents probe that prompted a major clash between Trump attorneys and the Justice Department involving a D.C. appeals court. U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell, based in Washington, D.C., ruled in favor of ordering Trump lawyer Evan Corcoran to testify before the federal grand jury. The development was first reported by ABC News. Today, NBC News confirmed that special counsel Jack Smith's office presented sufficient evidence to establish that Trump committed a crime through his attorneys. Trump's team appealed the ruling, resulting in an extraordinary overnight standoff where the Trump team had until midnight to file an appeal, with the government responding by 6 a.m. It now appears Team Trump lost. NBC News confirmed today, which will likely force the Trump attorney, Evan Corcoran, to provide documents or testify to a federal grand jury in the criminal probe. The DOJ has declined to comment, and Corcoran did not respond to NBC's request for comment. We're talking historical legal scrutiny for a former president, and to break it all down, I have a super team. I have the Avengers of legal teams here, and I'm going to need them because I'm no Captain America. I'm joined by Neil Katyal, former acting solicitor general, Georgetown law professor, and MSNBC legal analyst Suzanne Craig, New York Times investigative reporter, and MSNBC political contributor Hugo Lowell, political investigations reporter for The Guardian, and Paul Butler, former federal prosecutor, Georgetown law professor, and MSNBC legal analyst. Thank you so much. Paul, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to ask the simple question. I'm going to ask the question that I heard at the barbershop today in preparation for today's show. Is he going to jail for this? That's just the first thing that regular people ask before we get into specifics. Is Donald Trump going to jail for this?
Probably not. That would be a question for the judge if he ends up being both prosecuted and convicted. But what we're hearing about the legal theory would be either a misdemeanor or a low-level felony. In New York State, people don't go to prison for that if it's a first-time offense.
Okay. Neil, you sent a tweet earlier this week. I've been following all this and following all of you, where you said it's amazing, if I get this actually correct, you've not sure you've ever seen a 6 a.m. deadline before in court. And I have to agree with you. It seems strange to me to say, OK, you got to get this in by midnight. You got to respond by 6. They're seriously assuming that everybody's got to stay awake all night. What does that mean? What does it mean that a judge would say, hey, you guys have 6 hours to respond to this. We need to get moving on it. Is it indicative of a concern that too much time has already been wasted? Is it the seriousness of the crimes that are being investigated? What does explain the sort of haste that we're now seeing with this case?
So we're talking now about not what you were talking to Paul, my colleague, about what's going on in New York with Alvin Bragg, but rather what's going on in Washington, D.C. and the investigation into Trump stealing, potentially hundreds of documents, that some of which were very, very sensitive national security matters. And what happened is that last week on Friday, a judge in D.C., Judge Howell, very respected judge, said basically that Trump's attorney in that dispute, Evan Corcoran, that he had to turn over his information, including audio tapes and conversations with the former president, because they contained evidence of criminal wrongdoing. So normally, attorneys have very strong attorney-client privilege with their clients for the best of reasons. When I have a client coming in to meet with me, they should feel free to tell me their story, what happened, and the like, and not have to worry that I'm going to then go have to tell it to the authorities later on. But there's an exception called the crime fraud exception, and that exception occurs when you're using your attorney to further commit a crime. So if my client comes in and gives me a bunch of drugs and says to me sell them, then obviously that I don't get immunity for that, and neither does the client, and both of us can go to jail. So what Judge Howell said last week is it's looking like that scenario. It's looking like Donald Trump was committing crimes through his attorney, or perhaps the attorney himself was potentially liable. We don't know the details, all the details, but the bottom line is that's what Trump tried to appeal yesterday evening. And then the Court of Appeals, this is our nation's second highest court. It's an incredibly sober court. I've never seen them do this. They said, okay, government, you have to respond by 6 a.m., so just like 7 hours after the order came in at about 11 p.m., and write why Trump is wrong on this. So they did that. The government's attorneys stayed up all night. They said Trump is wrong, and lo and behold, this court by 3-0 vote said Trump is wrong, that these documents and these audio tapes by Corcoran have to go to Jack Smith, the special counsel who's investigating the stolen documents.
Hugo, I want to follow up with you on this. This idea of attorneys being, I guess, sort of wrapped up in the criminality of Donald Trump has always been something sort of amazing to me, because you would think that attorneys are not just thinking about, okay, how's the best way to represent my client, but they also have to be thinking about their own sort of professional and legal and financial future. What are the sort of implications here, not just for this particular case with Trump and the documents, but for the rest of his lawyers? Is this sort of a shot across the bow that other lawyers working for Trump right now might be worried that they too could be dragged into this case in a criminal way?
Well, let's start with Evan Corcoran, because the reality for him is when he goes to testify before the federal grand jury in Washington, we understand on Friday about his notes and about the conversations that he had with Trump about what steps they took to ensure that all the classified marked documents at Mar-a-Lago were returned to the government. He could end up eventually testifying against his own client. And that is something that the rest of the Trump legal team are very acutely aware of. And they're very acutely aware of it in part because other members of the Trump legal team have already ended up testifying before the grand jury. In fact, Evan Corcoran is just one of 3 Trump lawyers who have testified before the grand jury in the documents case. The others being Christina Bobb, who is also implicated in the incomplete compliance, shall we say, of the grand jury subpoena last year. And Alina Harbour, another Trump lawyer who actually searched through Trump's office in connection to a separate legal matter. And so, this is something that has been an issue for a long time. We have talked previously on this show and elsewhere about how, MAGA increasingly seems to stand for make attorneys get attorneys. And I think, this is the latest iteration of that. I just wanted to come back very quickly, though, to what kind of Neil was saying just now. Part of the reason we understand that the order to file briefs in the appeal was so quick was because Judge Howell's initial order instructed Evan Corcoran to produce the notes to the government by Wednesday. So that would be today. And it seems like the appeals court wanted to rule on or consider a potential appeal before that deadline expired.